So 1-year-old female, obedient with basics, reactive towards strangers, reactive towards dogs.
Yes.
No fenced yard. Exercise obviously is an issue, right?
Yeah. And I was talking to some of my neighbors who have fenced in yards. Some of them are my friends. They said we could borrow their backyard
Uh-huh.
whenever we need to exercise or as long as we give them a heads up. So they put their dogs inside. So I think that would be very helpful for Nala too, because I know a lot of her, behavior issues could be because of her pent up energy.
Right. Okay. And she is crate trained, right?
Yes. Oh, now I see your face.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so she is very crate trained. Yes,
Okay. And is she fixed?
she is. Yep, we got her spayed.
Okay. All right. All right. So, and at a year old, the reactivity, is it mostly on leash or is it if people come to your house too?
I haven't been like brave enough to try if someone just comes in and she's not on a leash. So she's usually in a crate when they first come in. Then I take her outside, and then see if she, how they approach her. And if they approach her with fear, like my sister and brother-in-law do, she gets reactive and she tries to like bite their face, like she tries to snap. But I just had another sister and brother-in-law over this past weekend who grew up with he grew up with pit bulls and knew how to approach and everything, and she was mush in his hands.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
So
she's very sensitive to that apprehensive energy.
yeah, she can feel
Yeah.
it.
Okay, gotcha. What was her? How long have you had her? Did you have her since a puppy?
No, oh gosh, no. We got her from the shelter 3 months ago after my 10-year-old Chihuahua passed away.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
And I think part of it was like we forgot how much energy a 1-year-old dog could have versus a 10-year-old Chihuahua.
Yeah, and I mean, you also adopted an older puppy, so
Yeah,
it's good in that older puppies you kind of know what you're getting. The flip
yeah,
side of that is she probably lost out on some valuable socialization when she was younger. Before she could be why she wound up at a shelter. Who knows?
yeah.
And so, what do you walk her with?
So I just got the front clip rough wear harness.
Okay.
And then we just have a standard leash. So for a while, I was putting like a clip on the back of the leash and another one on the front so that I could walk her that way. And I was kind of holding her too far back. She had too much slack. So the my brother-in-law who owned pit bulls said like hold her more down here and she's walking better like right next to us on a leash if I do that.
Okay. And now, when she does exhibit behavior on the leash, how are you handling that currently?
So initially, I've been trying to just move her away from what she's barking at, like tell her it's okay and just move her further away until she gets like into the green zone and I can get her to try to sit or something. Sometimes that works. My husband, who takes her out more than I do because he's home more, just kind of like yells at her. We've recently tried to like straddle her in between our legs to like gain control and tell her it's okay. She somewhat responds to that, but I'm not sure what the right like response is to that for
Yeah.
her.
Right. So, how would you classify your relationship with her? Is she fully trusting of you guys?
She's very trusting of me, yes.
Okay. All right. So, being that she is a year old, a lot of the stuff that you're describing, even in your original message, especially when they're a year old, I'm not saying she's not that because I don't know her, obviously, but a lot of times it's really just a social deficiency and anxiety based,
Yeah.
not necessarily aggression.
Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly.
anxiety. Once a dog is anxious, the dog can go anywhere, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's possible, and this is where you might need to kind of do some trial and error with different walking aids. And I'm sure you've heard of all the different types of tools out there.
Yeah.
And some people are open to tools, some aren't. I'm not sure where you stand on utilizing tools. If you can
I
get
like
better.
more positive reinforcement and less adversive methods unless I have to try something more.
Okay, all right. So right now, the front clasp harness is an aversive tool, which
Yeah.
most people don't know because the gentle leader is an aversive tool. It just sounds nice, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
get no control and you get no feedback from the dog because it's a constant struggle.
Yeah.
And again, just my experience with pits, as long as the relationship is solid and because she's an older puppy, If she was 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months old, I probably wouldn't even suggest what I'm about to suggest. It's just that she's an older puppy. I'm sure you've heard of prong collars, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a Starmark collar?
No.
Okay, so this is a Starmark collar. It's similar to a prong, but
Okay.
it's plastic and it has rounded edges.
Okay.
So it's not as invasive looking, but when it's fitted properly and used properly, it gives you a really good, a quicker, more effective communication with her on leash.
Okay.
Whereas, like right now, you ever give her a little tug on the leash?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does nothing.
Yeah, it does not. It does
Right.
not.
Yeah. So with this, and I may have a video talking more in depth about it. Again, I'm only suggesting this as an option because A, you're on the brink of rehoming her.
Yeah, my husband is like he wants to rehome. We have two young kids and she's great with them, but it makes him nervous.
Right.
You know, if their friends come over to play, if she bites the wrong person, especially the neighbor who lives right next door to us, yells at her all the time, and she wants to bite his face off.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing with kids, it's not unique to pit bulls from a standpoint of a young, exuberant, understimulated young dog is
Yeah.
a wild card when it comes to children.
Yeah.
But let's just say hypothetically that you work with her and you decide to keep her. There's nothing wrong with putting her away when other kids come over.
Yeah.
Right. And and some people they feel bad doing that. But when you're on the brink of potentially rehoming her, in my opinion anyway, the trade-off of putting her away for a safety measure
Yeah.
once in a blue moon, or even if it's a couple of times a week, is far better than her being displaced into a foster home where she's going to be in a crate 23 hours a day, or God
Yeah.
forbid a shelter where, then
Yeah.
that opens up a whole different set of consequences she may face, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And although putting dogs away when visitors come over is not a solution, it's more of what I call a management protocol where we're
Yeah.
kind of managing things just for safety reasons.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing so far.
Yeah, and and I get it. I mean, I'll be honest. I have pit bulls. They love everyone, and
Yeah.
there are certain people, contractors. I've had insurance inspectors come over. I put my dogs away.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
know
they
they're
don't have to
friendly.
meet people like that
I
either.
don't. Yeah, I can't control other people. And forget about with kids. I mean, kids. You think some dogs are unpredictable? Kids are unpredictable, right? We don't know,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So again, if it's something you guys decide to work through, and if this virtual thing is something that works for you, I'm happy to help you any way I can.
Yeah, I
I could tell
appreciate that.
I could tell you with the Starmark collar, and this is going to make you feel a lot better. Number one, if you decide to get this, okay, which again I'm suggesting it. If you get it, then I keep forgetting to give you my cell phone too. You could just call me. I could send you a video, an overview of it, but you could call me and we can talk through introducing this to her.
Okay.
So it's a gradual introduction. I don't use these on my personal dogs anymore, but I can tell you right now, if I take this out, does she get happy when she sees the leash?
Yeah, she does.
Okay, that's what we're gonna make this. That's how I try
Yeah.
to introduce it to dogs. So they see this and it's a positive association, even though it's a correction tool.
Yeah.
Right. Because, we humans, we classify this as bad. But if it's introduced properly and used appropriately, the
Yeah.
dogs, they know what's happening. And most importantly, when we're on leash, especially at a young age, we can communicate with her better.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about this, when you buy these, it comes with a backup safety loop.
Okay.
Which I have never had a problem with these breaking, but about 10 years ago, they started shipping them with this backup safety loop.
So they must have had a problem at some point.
Somebody somewhere must have had a problem. Now, can you see this okay? You see that
Yeah.
clasp on there? It's like
Yeah.
a leash clasp. This is how you take it on and off, right? So years ago, when they started shipping the backup collar, this was one piece, and you used to have to take the collar off with the links.
Oh, okay.
So my guess is that somebody didn't snap it down all the way,
Yeah, and it
right?
broke.
And there was a problem, and basically how it works is you would put, and we can talk more about introducing this if it's something you want to try, right? No sense in going into detail now, but basically, if my hand is her head, this would go on first, right? And then
Yeah.
I basically put the leash on this O-ring, and the
Okay.
primary collar goes on second, and the leash attaches to both O-rings. So I know it's hard to see on here, but if you could see how much slack is in the backup safety loop,
Yeah.
it's super slack. So it doesn't interfere with the function of the primary collar.
Okay.
But God forbid something happens, she's not getting away. And
Right.
I'm just explaining this to you because when people know that for instance, when I do transports with flight risk dogs,
Hmm.
I'll often use this because I know that unless I fall, break my arm, and drop that leash, they're not getting away from me. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
So
again, I can send you more information about this, but
yeah, like does it tighten around her neck or does it do like
yeah.
pokey
So
or
yeah. So okay. So you know how martingale collars work.
yeah.
Okay, it's the same design as a regular prong or a martingale because it has this little loop here.
Hmm.
So when this pulls, this wraps evenly around the neck.
Okay.
And much like a prong collar, it has multiple points of contact.
Hmm.
So whereas like dogs that pull on regular collars, all that stress is right there on the trachea. With
Yeah.
this, it sits high under the chin. You can't choke a dog out with this because of the way it's designed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't use these for general training. I'll introduce these to some dogs, and with the approval of clients, sometimes for a walking aid. Like
Okay.
I know some people use it for more broader training protocols. I pretty much just use it for walking, or in cases like this where, you guys and believe me, I understand what you're going through. I mean, I've had my fair share of train wrecks. You know,
Yeah.
and it's especially with a puppy. I mean, I'm doing this 30 years. I would never get a puppy right now.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't realize one was still pretty much a puppy. We were like, oh, it's not 6 months
Yeah,
old, but might as well be.
it's a lot. I mean, I have multiple dogs, so that helps
Yeah.
me compensate for any areas that I might be lacking in their physical stimulation. I'll just let them out in the yard. They beat the hell out of each other. They come in, they're tired.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. So with this collar, it's going to give you a more effective communication on leash. And
Okay.
the thing with this is that because I just considered a walking collar, like this is something that should never be left on her unsupervised.
Right. Oh
It's
yeah,
literally like
definitely.
if this is on her, there's a human attached to the other end of the leash, right? It's
Yeah.
not something
Yeah.
you tie him out with or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I am just pointing it out. I'm not sure how big she is. How big is she?
She's about 60 pounds.
Okay, so she's a pretty standard size. So,
Yeah.
but at that size, they're powerful.
She's all muscle.
Yeah, so this is it's gonna give you some again, more effective communication, more control. You eliminate her getting out of anything because those front clip harnesses are not
Yeah.
escape
I'm
proof.
not liking the front clip harness. I thought it would be better than it was, but like it like moves to the side and it's as tight as it goes
Yeah,
and
and
it's
I hate
not
how
really
it pinches
working.
their shoulders together and their legs. Like it just,
Yeah.
it's got. I mean, I know a tool like the Starmark can. You're applying pressure at times, and when you apply that pressure, it's uncomfortable. But with the no pull harnesses that clip in the front, it's constant discomfort.
Yeah, and I don't want that for
Yeah,
her.
right. And again, with this, there's other things that we can implement on walks too. Again, I'm just throwing it out there in our email. I'll send you. I'll let you know what it is again, and I'll make sure I give you my cell phone too. Um,
Okay.
but from these other from her being understimulated, which you hit the nail on the head. I was going to mention that, but not having a yard. I'll be honest. I don't think it would change where you're at right now.
Yeah.
Because you still need I mean young pitties, boxers, some working breeds, like they need more mental stimulation than they actually need
Yeah.
physical
That's why I was
stimulation.
doing some like basic training. I mean, she can roll over, give paw, sit pretty, find a toy that I hide. Like she likes doing that stuff and she learned it so fast.
Right, yeah. And and those things are good. Recreational chew treats, I think, are really effective, especially if
Yeah, she has a lot of those. We have the
yeah.
bark box and all.
Okay, good, good. So I love beef trachea. They're kind of my go-to, beef trachea and Kongs. I'll do cow ears once in a while, but not too much because although it's cartilage, there is some cowhide on there. So I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of rawhide. So ears are, they're kind of like a treat once in a while. But the trachea are nutritious. They crunch through them. For dogs that are a little bit, they need to chew a little more. I'll have people soak their kibble and stuff the trachea and freeze it, much like you would like a Kong.
Oh, okay.
You know what a Kong is, right?
Oh yeah, we have one. We have a red
Okay.
one.
Okay. Yeah. So much the same approach as stuffing a Kong and freezing it. It's just that we use trachea, and it's just a good, and they're inexpensive, which I got like anywhere from 10 to 15 dogs here at any point in time. So
Do you just order them online?
yeah, yeah, you could get them. I mean, I'm sure Amazon has them, Chewy, Best Bully Sticks, things like that.
Oh, okay.
And most local pet stores, even the Petcos and PetSmarts have them now.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
and I mean I like Bully Sticks, but Bully Sticks for really aggressive chewers, that's a lot of muscle to ingest in one sitting.
Yeah.
So the trachea is a lot easier on them digestively, and it's again it's
She has a
nutritious.
sensitive stomach and some like allergies, so
Oh, so the trachea would be right up your alley then. So.
yeah. Yeah, so
Uh,
I'll try her with that.
Yeah, and lick mats, puzzle toys,
Oh yeah, we could get those.
and yeah, I mean the lick mats. I'll
We
be
use those.
honest.
I work in a vet's office and we use them for the clients.
Yeah, I mean they're like 16, $17 on the internet. If you go to Home Depot and get one of those knobby entrance mats,
Oh, and just make
you,
your own.
you can cut them to your and you'll have multiple because once you take one out you need to put one in so you have a backup at least.
Yeah.
With a young dog you always want to have another go-to when she's done doing the one thing, but I mean the regular ones you buy are fine too, but I always
Yeah.
try to look for cost-effective approaches.
This economy, yeah.
you know so yeah, so lick mats are good, the puzzle toys are cool, and there's a lot of really cool ones where they gotta kind of move slide little the contraptions to expose the treats.
Yeah, she would
um
be really good like any like I can tell like she wants to learn, she wants to have her mind active and all that.
Yeah, and it's a blessing and a curse because they are so eager to please, but some can get really bored quickly if we're
Yeah.
not constantly stimulating. Oh, that's another thing I'm just taking notes. I'll send you. I have a playlist. It's my 7-day dog care challenge. Um, it's separated in 7 days so I had different uploads on YouTube. That's the only reason why I separated it. But
Yeah.
I'll send you those because it gives you a little bit of insight into especially day one where I talk about ignoring unwanted states of mind and rewarding desired states of mind. For
Yeah.
instance, when you're on a walk and you're struggling with her, putting her between her legs and trying to calm her down is potentially validating her anxiety.
Yeah.
As opposed to like I might, if I was working her, I might do nothing initially, let her get the initial anxiety out. And then when she starts to come down, even though she's still a little stimulated, she'll start to come down. Then I might redirect her onto obedience or maybe give her a mild correction to get her attention, as opposed to when they're spiking and we interact with them, kind of like the bratty. I was a little bratty kid, so I always make fun of myself when I talk about this. Like any attention is good attention.
Yeah.
That's the kind of kid I was. I was a little brat. So dogs are a lot like I was when I was little.
Yeah.
Sometimes especially with pits, like I mean, even like pits that jump, and people, I'll hear people say, "Oh, my trainer told me to knee him in the chest." I'm like, that's the last thing you want to do because then they think you're playing.
Yeah. I'm not gonna knee her in the chest, that's for sure. I just undo the treat thing and that
Yeah.
works.
So yeah. So understanding what you're rewarding all day long is an important part of getting her to some semblance of balance.
Yeah.
Um, your saving grace is she is a year old, so you probably have, depending on what you guys decide to do and how involved your husband is, obviously, because he's going to need to take on some of this. I mean, how many kids they have?
We have two, 5 and 1.
Okay, so you got your hands full. So, this is definitely a joint venture, and what I usually do remotely and virtually is, again, if you decide to try the Starmark, I think they're like $12 on Chewy. They're not expensive at
Okay.
all. And yeah, I'll send you. Well, once I send you the name, you can look it up. You can buy it wherever it's cheaper.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? Get it from Chewy. I've purchased some from Amazon, and
Not the same quality.
no, they were brand new. The seller had 8 million great reviews, but they were like they were messed up. They were like irregular.
Oh,
Like when you
okay.
buy irregular clothing, like there was some kind of dysfunction with the design. So just get them on Chewy.
Okay.
And they're probably cheap anyway. Yeah, I think they're like 12 or 13
I
bucks.
get most of her stuff from Chewy, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, from a training standpoint, anyway, that's what I was saying is how I usually do the virtuals is, I'll have people take some video of them working with their dog. So let's just say hypothetically, you want to move forward. If you and your husband just took not long videos, like 60 seconds, a couple of minutes maybe of each of you working with her,
Mhm.
you send me that video, I can critique it and offer suggestions based on your approach to her. Um,
Okay.
it's does it beat in person? No, nothing beats in person, right? But
Yeah.
it's again virtually. I can offer suggestions and critique it. I will definitely help you guys with the timing of your cues and your rewards. I can kind of again critique it in that regard and offer suggestions. Whether you get the Starmark collar or not, if you take a video of walking with her, I can offer some suggestions for walking and
Okay.
redirecting her, onto either stepping aside or moving the opposite direction. There are times, again, because she is a year old, she's an older puppy. If she is reactive, I might watch a video of yours and be like, you know what, if you just stayed there another few minutes, she probably would have calmed down,
Yeah.
and then you exit the situation. Whereas
Yeah.
if you think about it, with a reactive dog, it's been, it's human nature that if a dog overreacts, humans tend to get them out of that situation as quick as possible.
Yeah, you get like embarrassed. Like I know my husband gets very embarrassed if he's like walking and she's like barking at someone and he's just trying to move her away
Right. So
or yells at her.
let's put ourselves in the dog's mind, okay? Let's say whatever her social deficiency is, she experiences anxiety or fear with the trigger, a stimuli, a person, whatever, and she goes nuts, and then you back away and she calms down. What did she just learn?
She just learned. Well, she backs away and calms down, barking. I'm just sorry. I'm trying to think this through for a
That's
second.
okay. She learned that acting like a fool gets her to safety,
Oh, okay. It's
right?
kind of like reinforcing what she was doing.
Exactly. And although we're pulling her away because we want to get the heck out of the situation, at some point she settles down, right? And that's her threshold, right? Let's say you back away and you're 50 feet away and she settles down, right? That tells her, and more importantly, is if she keeps doing this, she's going to get better at the behavior.
Hmm.
So she's getting better at the behavior we want to get rid of.
Yeah, not
um,
what we want to do.
So sometimes we might need to just sit in a situation, whereas again, if we have a different walking aid, it gives us a better line of communication to her through the leash because we can, again, communicate with her more effectively. And she does have food allergies, so you'll have to figure out what treat is good for her.
Yeah,
If you decide to use like the Starmark collar, or even if you don't, because the front no pull harness is an aversive tool, you do want to use treats on your walks that are higher value than you normally use.
yeah,
Because then again, when there's discomfort, we want to make sure the value of the food is higher as well, because she's experiencing stress regardless of the tool that you're using. Right now, you go on walks, she's experiencing stress.
Yeah.
So if we bring a
So
higher,
am I.
yeah, right, exactly. If we bring a higher value food source, number one, it's going to be a little easier to keep her attention once we get it because she's going to be more likely to go for a chopped up hot dog as opposed to a little, dog
Yeah.
biscuit or something or
Yeah.
piece of jerky that you give her.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you want to proceed, talk to your husband. I'll reply to your email, give you my cell phone, and with video, text is challenging because the video comes through real choppy.
Yeah.
So we could do like Google Drive, or if you want to, I don't know if you're on social media.
Yeah,
Um,
we are.
okay, like I'm on all Facebook. I noticed their Messenger really maintains the quality of videos.
Okay.
So we could do something like that because let's just say you send me a 2-minute video, I could zoom in, I can kind of
Yeah.
really look at it, and it doesn't, because when you notice when you send text videos, number one, you have a size limit. Number two, it
Yeah.
it looks like a 1980s video game.
Yeah. It's very blurry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no,
So
when I send videos to people, I do use Messenger.
yeah, all right, okay, yeah, and most of my rescue clients that send dogs here for training, that's usually what I use for like quick updates because of the the quality of the video. So
Yeah.
Um, but again, I know the challenge of not having a yard. It's great if you could find one to run her, but there are other options. Again, I'll send you my 7-day challenge as well.
Okay.
I'm pretty big into holistic approach to dog care too.
Hmm.
So CBD oil is sometimes effective. Essential oils are sometimes effective. One thing I know and I 100% believe in with anxiety dogs is daily massage.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Daily massage, when I tell you, and when you see my videos, the 7-day dog care challenge, one of the days I talk about daily massage, it's amazing how many anxious dogs hold so much tension and stress in between their shoulder blades. And the daily
Yeah.
massage, obviously, it helps relieve stress just like it does with us. And, just have you ever gotten a massage?
Oh, yeah.
What feels good on you probably feels good on her. It's just
Yeah.
their bodies look a little different than ours, but their quads, the two muscles that go along the spine, their neck, their shoulders, it all feels good. It helps alleviate stress and it improves relationship as well.
Okay.
So
I could try that.
that's something you can do immediately. And then because I don't think she's an anxious dog where she needs medication. It just sounds like she's understimulated,
Yeah.
and you, like most families, probably have a shitload of stuff going on.
That we do.
um, so what do you think? How do you feel about this?
No, I
Want
think that's good. I think it could
to
definitely help. I think, my husband doesn't, he doesn't want to have to get rid of her. Like we do
okay,
want to keep her, but he gets so overwhelmed with the daily grind with our jobs and everything else. And then coming
yeah,
home and she's like tearing up their toys and she's jumping all around and all that stuff. So he just kind of hits like his threshold where he's like, this is too much for us to handle. And I'm like, well, let's look into ways that we can manage her behaviors, like you were saying, so that it won't be too much for us to handle.
okay. So here's another thing that this sounds really corny. I feel goofy when I tell people that I have to give them permission to do this. You're probably underutilizing your crate.
Yeah. I mean, she
Okay.
mostly like she goes in there herself with her toy and she wants space away from the kids. She sleeps in there. We have cats too. So
Okay.
that's a whole other thing. We have it until we get her like good with people. I'm not introducing her to cats. I don't know if you agree or disagree. I eventually want her to meet my cats because right now they're stuck just living upstairs and she has the whole downstairs and yeah.
Yeah, cats and dogs, it's really an individual thing. I mean, obviously I love pit bulls. I'm not ignorant to their level of animal intolerance that could develop
Yeah.
regardless of how they're raised, right? They could be raised perfectly and still just like any other terrier, like Jack Russells, they could be raised perfectly. When they hit 3 or 4 years old, they could develop animal intolerance, right? I
Yeah.
think it's more a terrier thing than it is a pit bull terrier thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't like determine her prey drive quite. Like she doesn't really go after squirrels and like she'll sit there and like watch turkeys walk by. I
right.
don't think she would hurt my cats, but I think if they like hissed or swatted at her, she would just respond quickly to it and could potentially hurt them.
Yeah, and the challenge, like if there's a cat that has a proven history with dogs, that's always a good cat to try to introduce to a dog. The
Yeah,
problem
they
with
were all good with my Chihuahua, but they were all bigger than my Chihuahua.
yeah, the problem with the cat dog relationship is sometimes the cats run and the dogs chase just because dogs chase stuff,
Yeah, they think it's
right?
like, yeah, a
And
game.
with a larger animal, obviously, it's a little riskier. So, but again, I mean, that's it's certainly something you can cross that bridge when the time comes, provided you can
Yeah.
get kind of stop the bleeding right now, so to speak. But
Yeah, I didn't want to like do too much too soon with her.
yeah. So, with crate utilization, I'm a big believer in every time a dog goes in the crate should always be positive.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that we can't put her in there if we need to a little time out, so to speak, right? If
Yeah.
she's doing something and we're not in a good space and we're a little frustrated, we could just take a deep breath, call her over. What's her name again?
Nala.
Nala. Come here, Nala. Come here, girl. Give her a little sit, give her a cookie, and then bring her over to the crate and put her
Yeah.
away in a positive manner, as opposed to her chewing on something or doing something wrong, and then we put her in the crate right after that. I
Yeah.
like to have what I call a bridge interaction. So let's say Nala's being Nala and being a puppy, and she's aggravating you. Deep breath. Come here, girl. Just summon your innermost positive thing. Right? Come here, sweetheart. Get in the crate, you mother.
Yeah.
And as long as it's positive going in, it's okay to utilize the crate. And it's also important to utilize the crate when she's not doing anything wrong. Like, how many times a day do you feed her?
She gets fed 3 times a day.
Okay, do you feed her in the crate?
No, in the kitchen.
Start feeding one meal in the crate with the door open.
Okay.
Because it just perpetuates more positive association with the crate, and not the crate, the door closing and you leaving,
Yeah.
right? It's just another
Yeah.
thing that happens in the crate that's positive.
Yeah.
So feed her at least one meal in there. You could leave the door open. You may have to start where you put the food on the outside of the crate initially if she's
Yeah.
uneasy, but it sounds like she'll probably go right in and you can just put the
Yeah,
food
she
in.
seems to like her crate. Usually, we
Good.
always give her a treat when she goes in. I've only used it negatively once when she was like getting mouthy, and her mouthiness it does bruise me
Mm-hmm.
because she's so strong.
Yeah.
So then I feel pain, then I get mad, then I put her in the crate, and that's not a positive association.
Okay, so that's a really good example though, because that's real life. So, and I don't care what anybody says. It's hard not to get frustrated in those moments.
Yeah,
But she's food motivated, right?
yeah, very.
So we could just deep breath, walk over to the treat cabinet or whatever, do a couple of sits and downs with her. Good girl. Disconnect her from that behavior momentarily before you put her in the crate.
Yeah.
So you're doing the same thing. You're just shifting the culture of going into the crate when she does those things.
Yeah. And
So,
is there a way, like, I try to redirect her as soon as she gets a crazy look in her eyes if I'm like ignoring her and she wants to play. And before I can even like grab something to throw for her, she'll like come and like tug my clothes or like bite at my hand, like trying to get my attention. But like it hurts because she's so strong.
yeah.
And sometimes
So,
she'll go towards the kids like that too.
yeah. So the thing is if you can't supervise her right now, you almost have to start over with her.
Yeah.
She's with you 3 months. You almost have to treat her like she's an 8-week-old puppy right now.
Yeah.
You need to shrink her world a little bit, which means utilizing the crate a little more. And you need to approach this like, okay, if I can't supervise her, meaning you can't watch what she's doing so you can read and react accordingly, she should
Yeah.
be in the crate with the chew toy or something, to keep her occupied. Again, we're at a point with number one, you were thinking of rehoming her. Even if you weren't, I'd be telling you the same thing.
Yeah.
You need to use the crate more. The first 3 years of pitties, I mean, they're piss and vinegar a lot of times.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to realize the more she's out and the more decisions that she makes, the more behaviors she is developing.
Yeah.
Right, and the more behaviors she's developing, in all likelihood, the more behaviors she's developing that don't jive with what you want out of her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
shrinking her world temporarily is certainly going to help eliminate some decisions while you work through some of this. Number one. Number two, it's going to give you guys a mental break too.
Yeah.
right? Remember, the flip side of all this stuff is you rehome her. If you found someone, she's going to wind up in a foster home. Most foster homes have multiple dogs, and they're crating and rotating, and dogs are
Yeah.
spending days and nights in the crates. And then the other option is a shelter, which we all know is not,
Yeah.
so
I've
her.
worked for many shelters. The one we got her from was a very high kill one, and I used to work there before I had my kids. So I was like, I'm not leaving a pity here if I can help it.
Right. So utilizing the crate more in your home where she's comfortable and loved and she loves and trusts you is better than any alternative right now.
Yeah, I think my husband sometimes feels bad about putting her in the crate so much, but it's good to hear you saying like that's okay for us to do right now.
Absolutely. And I could send you a copy of this video too. I'll put a private link somewhere so you can share it with your husband. And if he wants
Yeah.
to talk to me, he could, once you have my cell phone, he could always
Yeah,
call
I think I
me.
could get him on board too.
Yeah. And one final thing is, and I don't know if this makes you feel any better, but although it's overwhelming when you're going through it, what you're going through is so common.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have yards. A lot of people have young, energetic dogs that, frankly, they didn't anticipate the level of energy.
Yeah, I
It
underestimated.
it happens. I've done it, and I'm a trainer, and I'm in rescue 20 years, and I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
And
like I actually I have background in training, but with this dog, I feel like I'm like a student, like starting all over again.
yeah,
Like I went to college and I learned animal behavior and I, did a little bit of dog training before, but I got so overwhelmed. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. So now I teach kids about animals.
okay. So
Yeah.
and that's good because then you understand operant conditioning even at a high level,
Yeah, I do understand that.
right? And you also understand that using aversives doesn't necessarily mean that you're using pain and fear,
Yeah.
right? It's just, a loud noise is an aversive, right?
Yeah.
A clap, right now you're giving pops on the leash, which aren't working. They're still aversives. So
Yeah.
you're using aversives that aren't working, right?
Yeah. And
If you shift to a different tool, it might help. So,
yeah. And claps are a trigger for her. I've learned like if my kids are clapping or if I like yell at her with a clap or something, that triggers her to want to like be defensive and get more mouthy.
there you go, right? So
Yeah.
that's an example of an aversive that isn't working.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean aversives don't work. It means that one doesn't work for her.
Yeah.
Whereas if she's in that state of mind, a redirect to a positive behavior or interaction, like I talked about that bridge behavior,
Yeah.
that would be a better alternative than a loud noise, for instance. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so talk to your husband, and again, if you want to proceed, I'll send you my Facebook link too, and you could send me a couple of videos, and we can kind of go from there. If there's some quick suggestions, I could type them out. If you or your husband want to hop on another Zoom, that's totally fine with me as well.